Well, ladies, gentlemen, and non-binaries, the fearless year of Shadow is officially coming to an end, and with that, I've decided to release one quick final video to end off the year. I was originally going to have two different videos come out at this time, but plans ended up changing, so I've decided to do a quick little review on the newly released Sonic Movie 3. I just wanted to note that the footage I'll be using is gameplay footage I recorded of Shadow Generations. I'm doing this because the movie just came out, so there's no HD footage, and even then I would probably get copyrighted for it anyway. So just enjoy this little gameplay video, or pull up another tab, or do whatever you want, I don't care. Now, I did make a review of Sonic Movie 2 when that came out, but the video is unlisted for reasons. But if you want my opinion on the other two movies, I thought Sonic 1 was decent. Not terrible, not amazing, just decent. I thought the second movie was much better with the inclusion of Tails and Knuckles and actually adapting plot elements from the games, specifically Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And when I heard that this movie was going to be adapting plot elements from Sonic Adventure 2, I was excited, but also very skeptical. The idea of seeing my favorite video game character of all time being on the big screen sounded awesome, but depending on the execution, could be a huge disaster. If you guys saw my Shadow the Hedgehog review, I stated that I liked Shadow's character in every game up to Sonic 06. Because everything after that, I just hated his character. He just came off as the most generic emo edgelord that people often memed him for back in the day. However, I was very pleasantly surprised with not only how well they portrayed Shadow in this movie, but how good the movie was in general. So the basic plot of the movie is that Professor Gerald Robotnik, who's actually alive in this universe, has escaped prison, freed Shadow the Hedgehog, and teamed up with his grandson, Ivo Robotnik. Shadow and Gerald's plan is to use the Eclipse Cannon to wipe out Guardian units of Nation. However, it's later revealed that Gerald is actually planning to use it to destroy the entire planet. So it's up to Sonic and his friends to defeat Shadow and the Eggmen for once and for all. I said that completely wrong, but I am not redoing the line. So, by that plot summary, you can tell that this is not a direct adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2 the same way Sonic X does. It takes elements of that story and tries to mix it up into something new. There's no space colony arc, the Chaos Emeralds have a way less prominent role in this movie, which I'll talk about later. So, first of all, I love how Sonic is characterized in this movie. When I first saw the first Sonic movie trailer, I remember, despite hating the design, I liked Sonic's characterization. He's got that quippy attitude that always tries to get under the skin of his enemies. There's this scene where Sonic is chasing Shadow on a motorcycle and he's just annoying the crap out of Shadow, and he is just not having it, and busts out a pistol and starts shooting him. And thank God the pistol is actually cartoony and not realistic, as it should be. Sadly, this is like the only scene where Shadow uses a gun, but it's a cool action scene nonetheless. That's another thing to bring up, the references and fan service. You can't make an adaptation without at least referencing the source material. In Sonic 1, there wasn't really that many references. In Sonic 2, we got the intro scene, which was a callback to Sonic Adventure 1, and the scene where he does the foot tap on Eggman's robot, which is a callback to Sonic 06. I was afraid that this movie was going to heavily overdo it. However, the references were actually done perfectly. I think my favorite reference in this movie is when he says the line about low-budget flights on the helicopter in reference to the intro to Sonic Adventure 2. That made me genuinely smile. This movie is just very wholesome, but that's not all. This movie has probably the best action scenes in the entire series. I think my favorite scene in this movie is Super Sonic vs. Super Shadow, because aside from Sonic X, this is one of the only times we actually see a battle between the two in an official capacity. And my god, it looks so good, so well animated, and just generally beautiful to look at. I also thought this movie was a bit more mature than the last two. Not really dark, but more mature. This is the first movie where we actually get to see human characters die, and it actually got shocking at points. A lot of people thought that Tom, or aka the Donut Lord, was going to die in this movie, and I laughed at that idea. But then we see a scene where Commander Walters dies, which was honestly a bit shocking to see in a film like this. And we all know we're going to get the famous scene with Maria, which I will get to eventually, and it all culminates in the scene where Shadow attacks Tom. The way that Sonic is panicking when he sees Tom laying unconscious on the floor, and how Shadow is reminded of that tragic day with Maria. I knew it wasn't going to happen, but the idea did dawn upon me. Were they really going to kill off the Donut Lord? Like, obviously no, they didn't kill him off, and I knew they weren't going to, but I'd be lying if the thought didn't at least dawn on me. Then we have one of the most iconic scenes in the entire Sonic series, Maria's death. Believe it or not, I think the best interpretation of Maria's death isn't actually shown in an official capacity, but it's actually shown in a fan project called Project Shadow. This project came out way before Sonic 3 even had a teaser trailer, and I honestly consider this canon. Like, I don't care if it's a fan project, this is canon to the games to me. The animation is surprisingly good, the music is amazing, and they utilize a lot of actual lore pieces from Sonic Adventure 2. But the reason why I brought this up was because I was kinda disappointed with how Maria died in this film. Don't get me wrong, the scene is tragic and emotional, but it is paced way too quickly. I feel like this scene should have been placed in the end of the first flashback montage between her and Shadow, because in the movie itself it kinda just comes out of nowhere. Like, Shadow has to power up the Eclipse cannon, and Shadow's a bit hesitant. He's like, "Are you sure this is what Maria wanted?" And Gerald is like, "Oh, remember what Gun took from us." And then the scene plays, and it just kinda happens. I'm not even upset that she didn't die via firing squad like everyone was hoping she would. I'm upset that the scene didn't have that much emotional weight. Like, in Project Shadow, which I would like to remind you is a fan film, the gun raid was dramatic. It was intense. It's like watching one of your favorite Twitch streamers get swatted. It is legitimately such a well done scene. Then when we get to the actual part where Maria dies, it's sad, it's scary, and when the scene turns black and white and you see Shadow's face as he realizes that his friend just died before his very eyes, damn, that actually hits hard. But then we look at Sonic 3, and I am not kidding when I say the scene plays out exactly like this. Shadow and Maria are hanging out, then Gerald just bursts in saying that they have to leave. So they run away, and then a gun soldier shoots an explosive for some reason despite the commander clearly telling them not to do so, and the screen fades out, then back in as Shadow wakes up from the blackout and then immediately realizing that Maria is dead. That's literally the entire scene. Like, we don't even get an extra shot where he holds her hand where she says her final words to Shadow as she dies and lets go of Shadow's hand as she limps back. Like, I know they couldn't show off a dying child in a children's movie, but I feel like they could have done the scene way better. Speaking of things that could have been done way better, I do have some gripes with this film. It's not perfect, it definitely has some snags. Beginning with my most minor complaint, I really dislike how the Master Emerald and the Chaos Emeralds in general were underutilized here. In the last film, we're told that Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles are now officially the guardians of the Master Emerald, and will do anything to protect it from any possible threat. Then the post-credits scene plays, revealing Shadow the Hedgehog. This kinda gave me the implication that Shadow would need the Chaos Emeralds for some reason or another. However, the Master Emerald is specifically used because Sonic wants revenge on Shadow for hurting Tom, which I guess that's a good excuse for Sonic to use it in the final battle, but I don't know, I wouldn't have minded if we saw the Master Emerald have more of a prominent role here. Then we have Shadow's backstory, which is very weird. First of all, they clearly do not give us the entire backstory, as I'm pretty sure they're going to explore that in a future film or spin-off series. But that's not the problem. The problem is that Project Shadow isn't really that important in the grand scheme of things. In Sonic X, there was this plot line with two human characters who are trying to investigate the secrets behind Project Shadow. It's actually very intriguing because it creates this aura of mystery surrounding Project Shadow. However, in the Chow Garden scene, Commander Walters pretty much tells us the entirety of Project Shadow and what it was about. It kinda sucks because there was a scene in the trailer where Sonic is standing in a dark room with a flashlight investigating something. It gave me the idea that this scene was going to be the scene where they learned the secrets behind Project Shadow, but that didn't really turn out to be the case. This also completely retcons the idea that Gun was created as soon as Sonic was discovered on planet Earth. I do have a few minor nitpicks, but that's about it in terms of what the movie lacked. The one thing that I thought was nailed perfectly was the acting. Jim Carrey returns, and it seems like this is going to be his final movie from the looks of it? I don't know. But if that is the case, I'm glad, because he really went out with a bang here. He's playing both Ivo and Gerald Robotnik, and the fact that Jim Carrey has such a great chemistry with himself should really go to show how good of an actor he is. Then we have Keanu Reeves as Shadow. I was a bit skeptical at first because outside of Bill and Ted, I don't really know much about Keanu's other work. But once I saw fans animating Shadow with Keanu's voiceover, I knew right then and there. Oh yeah, he's the one. And he turned out even better than I expected. Seriously, Keanu Reeves as Shadow is perfect. Dare I say, better than the current voice actor of Shadow. To me, no one will ever replace Jason Griffith because I have a bit of a nostalgic bias, but Keanu Reeves did a really damn good job. No pun intended. One last thing I'll say about the movie is the post-credits scene. The post-credits scene teases not just one, but two different characters from the games, Metal Sonic and Amy Rose. And, I don't know, Chief. Like, don't get me wrong, I am hyped, but nowhere near as hyped as when I saw Shadow at the end of Sonic 2, or heck, even Tails at the end of Sonic 1. I think it's because the idea of a new character being teased for the next movie in the post-credits scene is kind of cliche at this point. And not to mention, and I understand this is completely subjective, I think the story of Sonic Adventure 2 is a heck of a lot more interesting than Sonic CD, which is what seems like they're going for in this next one. But that's not all, because at the post-credits scene, it's revealed that Shadow is alive? Yeah, this is not really a big shocker. I predicted this months ago. However, I really hope that in the next movie they do kick off the Amnesia plotline for Shadow, as that would just be a perfect callback from the games, and a great way to tell Shadow's full backstory. But, yeah. Anyway, this video has gone on longer than I expected to. I just wanted to talk about my brief thoughts, but I ended up rambling like I usually do. Anyway, I thank you all for watching. Let me know what you all thought. Were you satisfied with Sonic 3, or do you think it could have been better? Special shout out to my channel members, Peter Jensen and Skooma Denisen. I'm going to be uploading more membership exclusive content this coming year, so be on the lookout for that. But aside from that, I am the Loweton17. Thanks for watching, and Happy New Year.